Hey folks, welcome to another webinar brought to you by streamingchurch.tv and also Daily Diet 365. I'm going to tell you a little more about that in a little bit, but we're glad you're here. Thanks for being with us. If you can mute your video and your audio, that would be helpful to us. We do these webinars every month and we will record this. And so you can go back and review it. So today we're going to talk about how you can discover how to keep your congregation engaged all week long with daily content automatically generated from your Sunday sermons. And so we're excited about this product, and I think you will be too. We have a very special offer at the end of this webinar, and it won't be a long webinar, but it will be at the end. We'll give you a special offer. And also, we'll take some Q&A. So if you do have questions, you can always put in your questions in the chat here, and we will review them and answer those questions as best we can towards the end of our webinar. So let's just jump into this thing right now. We're glad you're here. Our host, sometimes we take time to talk about ourselves, but we won't do self-glossing today. Steve Lacey is with us. He's the founder and CEO of streamingchurch.tv, better known as JSL Solutions. Michael Gray is with us. He handles customer support with all our products. And I'm, of course, here with you. And all of us here have been involved in church work and ministry for a long, long time, most of our lives in different capacities. So we understand ministry, we understand church, we understand the challenges that take place when it comes to using technology. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the problem that those of us in ministry are certainly aware of. Our members, our people, many of them feel disconnected. They feel disconnected. And it's a problem that's been going on for a long time. There's a stat here by Pew Research, 62% people. That's not too bad, but over 38% feel like they are not connected to their church, to their ministry, to their people. And if you go back to it a little more, you see that the majority of people don't really do much during the week. They don't attend Bible studies. They don't attend small groups. The majority of them don't. Again, you can see the stats there, 66%, almost 70% don't attend this. And look, this is a problem that we've all been dealing with. I started doing ministry back in full time and back in 1978. And people, there's competition out there, right? There's all sorts of people and things that want your time. So that's not just the worst of it, okay? Not only do people don't feel very connected, but they also forget what happens at the service.
So this is hot off the press this morning. This is posted on Babylon Bee today. So it's not a true story, but like every Babylon Bee article, there's a bit of truth in everything they post. So this came out that every word of pastor sermon is forgotten by the time family hits the church parking lot. So it's a good read. If you get the Babylon Bee, you should go. It's one of the main articles today, which I think is just completely in line with our webinar topic, that people feel disconnected and people don't, they forget what's going on.
Well, yeah. And that's what the Babylon Bee is kind of a satire thing, right? I mean, is that what that
Yeah.
it is? But it's true. This is true. I mean, we could all attest to this if you've been around ministry or even if you're not in ministry.
I don't know if every word is forgotten by the time they hit the parking lot. But actually, we're going to have some.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. Steve, you like stats? Tell us a little bit about stats here.
Yeah. So let me back this up with I'm good friends with our pastor of our church, and he many years ago introduced me to one of his best friends, and we would talk regularly. And I remember driving into work one morning, and he called, and we were taking care of some business or something, and he goes, "So what was Jeff's message on yesterday?" And I was just and he just started razzing me to no end because he's a fellow pastor. He had just spoken yesterday. I didn't listen to his message, but I did listen to Jeff's, and it took me way too long to figure out what Jeff had talked about, which is very in line with our Babylon Bee thing. So anyway, Phil, you got these stats that basically contradict a little bit that by the time they hit the parking lot, they may have retained some things, but by Monday morning, 44% of the people have forgotten what the service was about. By Tuesday, you add another 26%. By Wednesday, another 12%. So by Wednesday, you're approaching like 90% of people have forgotten what the message was. And this has been a challenge within the church for ages. And one of the things that, in talking with our pastor at my church, where we were talking about doing this daily dive thing, he said, yeah, because his biggest challenge is the 167 hours during the week. And I'm like, what do you mean? Because, well, there's 168 hours in the week. I get one of them. They come, they listen to my message, but the other 167 hours he has no control over, but the church wants to try to influence it through small groups, through activities, through Bible studies, and that sort of thing. So that's where, getting refueled for 1 hour out of the 168 is not enough.
Well, yeah, and it's all about people, helping people stay connected to each other and to the church and to growing spiritually. But if I'm a pastor and I go, look, I put a lot of time and a lot of effort into what I'm doing here on Sunday mornings, and I just don't have the resources to try to make this thing work. Well, actually, the truth is you've already got resources. You've already got some resources. And what are those resources? Well, your sermons. You probably, if you're a senior pastor, deliver 40 to 50 sermons every year. You prepare them, you rehearse them, you work really hard, you study, and you deliver them, and then they're filed away in some dark place that nobody sees them. But actually, there is an answer to that, and that's what we're talking about with this webinar, introducing the 7-day sermon tool. What is this thing, Steve Lacey?
So this is something that's grown out of our existing tool set that will allow you to put your message on through a variety of platforms in front of your members every day of the week. So it's not taking the message and cutting it into pieces so that they got to relive the message 5 minutes at a time during the week, but this takes the key points from your message and then puts them into an audio and textual based context so that it illustrates the key moments from your message during the week. So,
and again, it can be on different platforms, which we'll get into here: daily devotions, podcasts, Amazon Alexa devices, and as you mentioned, it does do sermon clips. So let's hear a little bit from. You mentioned Jeff Love, your senior pastor, somebody I worked with, and Mike and I have worked with. Let's do a little bit of demonstration for this. So we'll do a little live demo here. Hey, what could possibly go wrong? Hopefully that you'll be able to hear and see this next video here with Jeff. And then after this video with Jeff, we're going to go into just a quick look at the admin control area of this product that we're talking about, Daily Dive 65. So let's roll the tape here.
I'm so passionate about helping our people and reaching our people, discipling our people, the other 167 hours that they're not here. We only get 1 hour a week, and I thought this is such a powerful tool. And it not only does it add value in that way, but it doesn't cost me time to do it. It's building off of the time I've already spent investing in the weekend. But it is a very unique tool that way. It's an app that's designed, it's a very innovative concept to give a daily devotional based on my message from the weekend. So it's actually taken my content. It's everything about what I've written, or actually what I've spoken, and just breaking that into pieces to help our people remember, digest the weekend. Most of us as pastors, it's kind of upsetting, but people forget what we talk about by Wednesday morning. And this helps them to kind of really apply it day in and day out from weekend to weekend. I love that it's a daily tool. I think about how God transforms us by changing the way we think. Paul says in Romans 12:2, and that changing the way we think can't just happen in 1 hour a week or a half an hour speech or sermon, but little bit by little bit every day, just getting our thoughts focused. I think it's unique also, Phil, in that the app side of it, that somebody can access it anywhere on their phone. We live on our apps, so we don't have to go to our website. We're going to be able to connect right there with our app. Not just on your phone app. I mean, I'm very pro that, but you can also use it. So you use it through your phone, but you can use it through Alexa devices and kind of any other church podcast that you might be doing. So this is not just a real narrow tool. It's really expansive for wherever people are getting connected or learning and growing.
This is what the app looks
Jesus
like.
talks about the narrow gate and the wide gate in Matthew 7:14. The narrow gate which leads to life is one that few find, while the wide gate leads to destruction. Are you following the narrow path in your family life? It's easy to follow societal norms, which often lead us away from Christ's teachings. Reflect on whether the choices you make daily align with the narrow path that Jesus describes.
And then it has an interactive poll for the members of your group or the whole church.
You need to speak up,
participate in.
Steve, because I think this is kind of loud.
Okay. There's a poll, and it'll show how people participate in the poll. There's also an integrated prayer board. So we're using this within my group to just stay connected during the week. And actually, when we're not meeting, where we take a semester off or a time off between semesters, allows us to stay connected.
Alexa, play my flash briefing.
Here's the latest from your flash briefing. From Alive Church.
Have you ever questioned your purpose in life? In our second devotional message, we draw inspiration from the Apostle Paul's transformative journey to help us discover our own calling.
All right. So
Well-
that was what the members see on their side.
Yeah, here's the admin control panel, right?
Yeah, so this is once you have an account, this is with the admin. So this is how the sausage is made. So this is you go in and you basically log into an admin area. There's a main button there that says add a new sermon, and you basically take your recorded sermon. Right now we're pulling from YouTube, so you just enter your YouTube URL. You also have the ability to create a thumbnail for the sermon. So that's when your members are seeing your sermon in the app, they're going to see the artwork from your sermon. There's also going to see contents from within the sermon as well. So you basically go in here. This was an older week sermon, and you just choose the date that sermon was done. You paste your YouTube URL in, and then this thing will add this sermon to the library. So once your video is loaded in the system, you have the fuel, you have the resource to start making devotions. So the next part of this thing is going to go over and click the create devotions or the pulpit to pocket option, which will allow you to go in and select a voice that you want it delivered. You heard that was our pastor's voice that delivered the message. You can have it delivered.
Allow the world to live as it chooses, and allow yourself to live as it chooses, and allow yourself to.
But these are not normal times in our politics. Washington is as divided as ever.
So you have the ability to preview the voices. You also have the ability to have the system clone your own voice or a member of staff's voice as you want as well. If you want it delivered in a very familiar voice, then you basically go in, say, choose your voice, choose your sermon, and then the thing's going to crank. It does take a few minutes to go through. It's going to be creating a transcript of your service. It's going to be analyzing that transcript to come up with the devotional content. And then once it's done, it will give the ability to go in and show you what it's created so that the system will never go forward without your approval. So you have the ability to go in and edit. So this will create a week's worth of sermons. Depending on the length of your sermon, we have some churches that have a very short message, it's 15 minutes, so it only creates 3 devotionals for that. It'll do 3, 5, or 7. So if you're speaking for more than, say, 30 minutes, it's going to give you 7, which will be 1 for every day of the week. And you have the ability to go in here, like I said, edit everything that's there, but it's going to create that content for you automatically. And then once you're happy with it, you basically say, I want to choose, each one of these guys. I'm going to use all 7 because I want to have, daily message every day of the week after my sermon. And you can do this as soon as your sermon has been recorded. So you can do this Sunday afternoon. And again, this will take a few minutes again to go through and create the audio rendition. It's going to also come back and show you it will create a scripture that's going to go with that. You have the ability to edit the scripture that goes with each message. It will come back with a set of poll question that asks about how do you apply this day's message in your life, and gives you 3 multiple choice answers. And so that people that are participating in the devotionals can choose, their answer, and you'll see the kind of the graph of results. So you can see how other people are participating, which if you have a small group with that group, they're coming back to your small group your message with, prepared and studied and up to speed and have something to talk about. And I was the only one who voted or that selected this on this day. So that is the basis of the back end of the tool that we just saw the demo on, and we'll move on here.
Yeah. So did we cut your video off, Steve?
I think it was. I think the end of it got cut off. So, but that's
sorry
okay.
about that. Yeah. So there's a lot of bells and whistles to this thing. That was the back end of things that Steve was talking to you about, how the sausage is made. And again, just reviewing, this actually will, and if you have questions, and there's some Q&A here we're going to do at the very end, okay? Because I know there's already questions about cloning the pastor's voice and all that stuff. So you can actually create a daily podcast from this thing. And as was mentioned earlier, Amazon Alexa devices, it can be put on your Amazon Alexa devices. And yes, it actually does do sermon clips on social media as well. So there's lots of things here. Again, a quick little overview: audio message, scripture, daily messages, poll, as you mentioned earlier, Steve, sermons, prayer board. And we have a special offer, and that's going to be coming up here in just a moment. So we'll tell you what the special offer is, okay? And again, if you have questions, well, let's just tell you what the offer is right now. So if you're interested in this, tell us about the special offer, Mr. Steve Lacey.
So what we've done is we've got a sample. What we've done is taken one of Pastor Craig Rochelle, who is the pastor of Life Church, kind of a leading pastor, popular pastor today, take one of his sermons from a while back and created a set of sermon-based devotionals based on his sermon. So what we'll do is we'll send you those. It's delivered in a handy, easy to consume PDF, and it includes all of the content. So you can kind of see what his message was about and how the devotionals were created for each of those, including audio playback of each of the devotions and a sample of the scripture reference for each devotional, as well as the poll question and sample answers for that. So that's all included in this.
So if people want to get a taste of this, they can get this by going to just send us an email, support@dailydive365.com, and it'll give it a taste. You don't have to download the app. I got some questions on this we'll get to in a moment, but you don't have to download the app. You don't have to make a free trial, although we would encourage you to maybe consider making a free trial, dailydive365.com. But if you want a sample, this is where you would go and you would get it. And, there's no obligation, obviously. So support at dailydive365. All right. So we're going to take Q&A here in just a second. We have lots of resources here. We serve churches, we serve ministries. That's all we do around here. And that's our passion, our desire. DailyDive365.com is one of those things where the offer is. And we have a blog. If you check out our blog, you get a chance, blog.streamingchurch.tv. We have the podcast called the Church Solutions Podcast that we do every week. And of course, we have streamingchurch.tv bringing you streaming video. We've got a webinar coming up next month. It's called From Crash to Comeback. 10 steps to fix your stream fast. And we know that this can be a challenge. Sometimes things don't go exactly right Sunday morning. In fact, if they're going to go wrong, they generally go wrong Sunday morning. So we've all experienced that here working with our own churches. So we have a webinar coming up. You can find that at webinar.streamingchurch.tv. All right, time for some Q&A here. We've been talking about this 7-day sermon deal. I've got a few questions here that have come in. So if you have a question, just put them in the chat here and we will do our very best. So first of all, the first question I have, Steve, I'll let you or Mike, somebody answer this. Do I have to have the app to use Daily Dive 365?
No, that's one of the things that if your church already has an app, you can integrate it into your existing app. Or there's also a mobile version of this that's available as well. The app is one of the more convenient routes because basically you get some additional features with the app. You'll get, as members of your group, your small group, post prayer requests, the other members of that group will get a push notification about, June has posted a prayer request. So that will allow others to participate, and then members of the group can go in and say, click on a link saying I'm praying for this, and then the person that posts the prayer request gets a notification, Bob's praying for my prayer that I posted. So it's a way to get connected through the app. And so there's a bunch of there's some things that are available in the app that aren't available, so like a web version. So
but there is a web version, right?
Yes, there is a web version of it as well. If you want to integrate it into your church website, that can be done. If you already have a church web app or a church app, you can integrate it into there as well. So, or you can just use the separate app.
And when we say web, we mean browser version. Okay. All right. Yeah. Here's a question. Is the content contained the daily devotional clips of the text from the sermon? I didn't quite.
What I was asking was, and it popped into my brain, is it just, so if you were the pastor teaching, is it just clips of what you said?
No. So it will summarize your points and kind of present them in the way that you presented them, but it's not a literal clip of your words word for word from the sermon. So, because a lot of times you want to, if you're creating a daily devotion, you want to have kind of an intro, a point, and then a summary, and then, somewhat of a call to action kind of thing. So it does that, whereas you're not going to do that in your sermon. You make a point, you may not. So it uses the basis of your key points from your sermon, but it's not a direct lift of the text from your sermon.
Okay.
Here's a question. What does this thing cost? That's a direct question there.
It's free for 30 days. So check it out. And then it's $49 a month. So that's the way.
$49 a month.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but if you want to experiment with it, create a free trial, you want to get the sample, those are all available. So it's a good way to, and it only takes a few minutes a week if you have your video sermon already recorded, which most churches do. So
okay,
it's a pretty quick process. So it's not a heavy investment.
Okay. Any more questions? Please explain the voice cloning process. How does this work?
So the way the system works is, like I mentioned earlier, you can use one of the existing voices, professional voices. You can have all kinds of different countries of origin, and there's probably about 30 voices or so. But you can also take a voice sample where they want, I think, at least a few minutes of whoever's voice you need to clone recorded, and you upload that recording, and the system will go through and do its best to clone the voice of the person that's there, so that when the devotionals are created, it reads them in their voice. And it does a pretty good job. I've kind of gone back and forth. I've known our pastor for years, and we talked with him. He says, well, how do you want to do this? Do you want to use another voice? You want to use your voice? No, let's use my voice. And so he was really eager to make sure that it was delivered in a friendly voice from the church, or a familiar voice from the church. And when I first heard it, I was like, it doesn't sound just like Jeff. But then I listened to it on my phone, and I'm like, wow, that sounds just like Jeff. So maybe it was the lesser quality speaker or something. But and now I think either my opinion's changed, or maybe Jeff since I hear him 7 days a week or in my phone, and only 1 day a week live.
Okay, well, and we heard his voice, on that demo we ran, which actually worked. We've done this before and it's crashed before, but it actually worked, and we heard him talking, explaining things, and then we actually heard the devotional part, and it did sound very, very, very familiar. All right, more questions here. How does the podcasting thing work with this deal?
So what the nice thing about this is, once you go through the process of creating your devotions, which it creates the devotions, and it creates the audio content for it, that information is available for a podcast. We've got a partnership with a podcasting company that all you have to do is go in and put a thumbnail up for what you want the visual to be for your podcast. You put a title in for your podcast. You put a description in for your podcast. And it's one form. You fill it out, you schedule your podcast, and your podcast goes live, usually within 24 hours, so that your podcast will be available within 24 hours. And then as you post new content, it goes live immediately. So
how long is the podcast?
The podcast it takes the audio content from the devotional. So the devotionals are going to vary day to day and week to week. We found that sometimes they're much longer than others. The one I showed you is probably on the shorter to average side. So they're, I don't know, maybe take 90 seconds to read through. So they're quick. So.
Pastor Jerry has a good question. Is there a package deal if you're already with streamingchurch.tv, or is it a separate charge?
We haven't. Today, it has been a separate charge. For Pastor Jerry, I'm sure we can make a deal. If you're interested.
Ooh,
and we haven't talked about
question, though.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah. We haven't talked much about a package deal, but right now it's a completely separate product. It's not integrated into some of the other products. So.
Okay. The best thing to do there would be to reach out to Steve Lacey. I know Pastor Jerry.
Yes.
All right. Well, good deal. All right. So any other questions here? I don't have any more that have come in. Anybody else have any that have come in?
How we're doing it at our church, just a little more background. This is brand new. And it started within a small group within my small group at my church, and it rolled out, and they got feedback along the way, and a very high adoption rate within my group. And I've got some 90-plus-year-old people in my group, and they're doing the app every day. So there's some people that you wouldn't consider real techies in there that are able to do it as well. But what we're doing at our church is we're rolling it out through small groups, and had all the small groups bring their groups in, but you can roll it out this thing can either be contained so that prayer boards and poll results and stuff are limited to a small group, or you can have it open to the whole church. So everybody in the church can participate in one area. Okay. So post prayer requests for the whole church. Then you, as you set it up, set your account up, you determine how you want to do it. You can say, I want to put people in small groups, and so they're only going to have visibility to the responses from the small group, or you can have it open to everybody. And we got churches doing it both ways. So,
okay, all right, good deal. All right, any other questions here? Going once, going twice. I do want to say that I want to repeat what we're doing here as far as our offer goes. And you can kind of see my screen here. This is the version, but hey, if you don't want to sign up for a free trial, which I would encourage you to do a free trial, just go to dailydive365.com, no obligation. But if you want to get the 7 free sermon-based devotionals in your email, it's in a PDF, as Steve mentioned earlier, and it will give you 7 days, kind of a sample from Craig Groeschel from a sermon he did called Winning the War in Your Mind. And so you can kind of see how it works. Just use it and open up your email, PDF, and you'll play the audio, and it will give you kind of the whole overview of what we've been talking about here. And you don't have to sign up for a free trial. But we encourage you to do a free trial. So that's what I would say. So, all right, guys. Sure appreciate everybody's time here. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today. And again, if you have any questions about this, just reach out to us, support@dailydive365.com, or you can go to dailydive365.com, and there's a chat box there that you can chat with us live, or if we're not there, just leave a message there and we'll reach out to you. All right. Anything else before we wrap up, gang? I think we're good here. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Be sure and check out the Church Solutions podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, and our blog at blog.streamingchurch.tv, and the other products we have, go to streamingchurch.tv/resources. On behalf of Steve and Michael here, thanks for being part of our webinar. And this is recorded, so we will have this available a little bit later. Thanks, and have yourself a great day.